It's a product video for the new American Flyer U33C diesel locomotives. We have here today a 6-48146 Southern Pacific Legacy U33C S-gauge diesel, number 8773. These locomotives are also available under product number 6-48142 Erie, Lackawanna, cab number 3320. 6-48158 Burlington Northern U33C, cab number 5734. 6-48159 Great Northern U33C, cab number 2543. 6-48160 Conrail U33C, number 6573. And finally 6-48161 Northern Pacific Legacy U33C, cab number 3309. Out of the package you will receive a Legacy Control engine memory module loading instructions, the locomotive instruction manual, 2 sets of 2 traction tires. You get 2 of one size, 2 of the other size. One goes on one side of the drive axle, the other goes on the opposite side. Smoke fluid pipette, smoke fluid funnel, 2 scale coupler mounting brackets with 4 short screws used to mount the mounting brackets to the pilot, and 4 long screws used to mount the scale coupler pocket to the bracket. The engine memory module for your cab 2 remote, and the locomotive. The American Flyer U33 S-gauge locomotives feature die-cast side frames and die-cast truck block, a die-cast pilot, die-cast fuel tank, stamped metal frame, plastic body, Delrin handrails for maximum flexibility. They come out of the box with S-gauge electrocouplers, which allow you to fire the couplers using your cab 1 or cab 2 remote. They also feature LED lighting in the front and in the rear, along with marker lights. When the front headlights are on, the 2 red marker lights are on the rear of the locomotive. When the rear headlight is on, the 2 marker lights on the nose of the locomotive are illuminated. When the locomotive sits at idle, the cab light will be illuminated. Once the locomotive begins to move, the cab light goes off. In conventional mode, the cab light will stay on all the time. These engines also feature a centrally located motor with dual flywheels inside the fuel tank and have drive shafts that go to both trucks, a fan-driven smoke unit, a DC-DE back EMF motor driver / speed control, and Legacy rail sounds. The American Flyer U33 diesels are equipped with 2 switches that are located underneath the radiator hatch on the rear of the locomotive. The hatch is held on with 4 magnets and comes off with very little effort. The 2 switches on the locomotive are the program run switch and the smoke on-off switch. The program run switch in the program position is how you assign the locomotive ID number in command or legacy mode. Run will allow you to run the locomotive under the new ID number. In conventional mode, program is used to lock the locomotive in one direction all the time, and run allows you to access all 3 directional states. The smoke on-off switch in the SMK position will allow you to control the smoke unit on and off using a Legacy or cab 1 remote. In conventional operation, it will leave the smoke unit on. In the no smoke position, it will keep the smoke unit off all the time, regardless of whether you are running in command or conventional mode. The manual volume pot is right here. That is the master volume control. Turning that down to a level that suits you will ensure that you cannot exceed that maximum volume using either a cab 1 or cab 2 remote. The legacy U33Cs come equipped with 2 scale coupler mounting brackets. These mounting brackets mount to the pilot using the shorter of the 2 styles of screws. The longer of the screws are used to mount the coupler pocket to the mounting bracket. The instructions in the owner's manual are very clear as to what needs to be done to remove the truck, ultimately removing the American Flyer style electrocoupler and installing the scale coupler mounting brackets. We encourage you to refer to the manual if you wish to do this to your locomotive. 2-rail scale wheel sets will be available in late January 2012 from Lionel Customer Service. These scale wheel sets will allow you to replace the high rail wheel sets in your trucks currently for operation on scale 2-rail S-scale track. For those of you operating your legacy U33C diesel locomotives with a cab 1 remote, I'd like to cover briefly the key sets on the command that perform different functions. To address the locomotive, if we use our numbering convention of the last 2 numbers of the cab number, in this instance it would be 73, we would simply press engine 73. Now any command that we send from this remote will go directly to that U33C. We have horn, bell, direction, boost, brake, front coupler, rear coupler. This key we refer to as aux1 or the straight arrow button. By pressing it 1 time, you have pressed the aux1 key. Once you press aux1, you have access to volume up, crew talk, RPMs up, volume down, shutdown, RPMs down, tower comm, smoke off, smoke on, and engine reset. The aux2 key, or diverging route key, will turn the headlights on and off in your locomotive. Down here at the bottom of the remote, we have the momentum settings, L, M, and H. For this particular American Flyer U33C, the momentum works a little bit differently. Pressing the L button will give you 32 speed steps with low momentum. Pressing the M button will give you 100 speed steps with low momentum. And pressing the H button will give you 100 speed steps with medium momentum. Momentum is merely the response time between the locomotive on the track to the command you send it from the red thumb wheel. As at a medium setting, you do this, and it will take the locomotive a while to get up to speed. With a 100 speed step low momentum or 32 speed step low momentum, this will result in an immediate response from the locomotive on the track. Using the cab 1 remote to turn the smoke unit on and off on this legacy diesel is simple. You simply address the engine, in this case engine 73, press the aux1 key, and 9 to turn the smoke on, 8 to turn the smoke off. You have 3 different levels of smoke in your locomotive itself. All 3 levels can be accessed all the time in legacy operation with a cab 2 remote operating in legacy mode. In cab 1 mode, you can access all 3 levels one at a time, meaning we can turn our smoke unit on and off. Once we turn it on, it can be at the low setting, the medium setting, or the high setting, depending upon what you select. As an example, you can set the smoke unit to run at low by pressing engine 73, aux1, aux2, 9, L, aux2. That will set the locomotive up so that when you turn on the smoke unit, it will always be at the low setting. To access medium or high, you simply change out the L with the M key or the H key. So to set our smoke unit on high, to produce a great deal of smoke when the smoke unit is turned on, we press engine 7.3, aux 1, aux 2, 9, H, aux 2. Now, whenever we turn our smoke unit on, it will be at the high setting. All of this information is covered in the instruction manual for your particular locomotive. Using a Lionel Legacy controller, the first thing we need to do before we get our locomotive on the track is we need to tell the remote everything about the specific locomotive that we're going to program. Using the Lionel numbering convention of the last 2 digits of the cab number, for our Southern Pacific U33C, the road number is 8773. So we're going to program the remote for engine 73 to address this locomotive. So to do this, we press engine 7.3. We then take the orange memory module that came in the package with the locomotive and insert it in the space in the top of the cab with the silver circle L facing up. Pressing the info key in the upper right hand corner, we get to the engine menu for engine 73. We're going to press the button under load. It's going to tell us we have a module inserted, a Southern Pacific 6-48146 U33C, cab number 8773. Load engine data, we press yes. It tells us the engine data is loaded and remove the module to continue. So we take the module out, store it in a safe place. I'd like to take a moment and show you what this has done for us. For engine 73, we have set the name and road number already. So by pressing the scroll button in the upper left hand corner, it's set our control type up to Legacy Pullmore Diesel. Pressing scroll again tells us that it's set the control type to Lionel Legacy. This means that the base will now send 9-bit digital commands to the locomotive, and therefore we'll have access to all the Legacy features. Pressing scroll again, it tells us that the sound system is set up to Legacy Rail Sounds. To exit this menu, we press Info. You see the cab number appears on the screen momentarily, and Southern Pacific U33C scrolls across the top. I want to show you what this has done for us on the touchpad. When we now press aux 1 or the straight arrow key, the icons on the touchpad are specific to our diesel. We have volume up, crew talk, RPMs up, volume down. The round black circle is when the locomotive is sitting at idle. That's the shutdown icon. By turning the red thumb wheel to get the locomotive moving, the icon changes to a black triangle. When the locomotive is moving and you press that icon, it runs through an emergency stop sequence. We have RPMs down, tower comm, smoke off, smoke on, engine reset, Rule 17 lighting enabled, Rule 17 lighting off. When I press the speed bar and go to the preset railroad speeds, I have all 6 of my preset railroad speeds: restricted, slow, medium, limited, normal, and highball. I also have access to tower comm, smoke off, smoke on. This bar over here on the left is actually a graph that increases or decreases based upon any manual inputs I use on the EFX up and the EFX down key. This affects up and down icons will allow you to make the locomotive labor extra hard or extra light. So when I press the icon up, you'll see the bar graph here on the left increases. When I press the down arrow key, that bar graph decreases. When it's low, the engine will typically run at a high speed at a low RPM, and when it is high, it'll typically run at a high RPM at any speed. Finally, the number 1 icon is for roll speed. That's the very first speed step that the locomotive can attain. Press the aux 1 key to get back to my main menu. It's important to note that the smoke icons are only minus and plus. That's because the locomotive type is set as Legacy Pullmore Diesel. In our testing at Lionel, we found that the locomotive performs best under that setting. The icons for smoke off and smoke on will be changed to 3 different levels when the version 1.4 software is released later in 2012. If you feel you need access to all 3 levels of smoke, you can do that by changing the type in the locomotive. To change the type on our locomotive, we simply press Engine 7.3. We press the Info button in the upper right hand corner to get into the Engine 73 information. We press the Scroll button 1 time to get to Type. By pressing the button under the down arrow key and moving this to Diesel and selecting DSL, we now have the icons on the touchpad, or will have the icons on the touchpad specific to 3 levels of smoke. Exiting this menu by pressing Info, and now you can see the icons for the smoke off and smoke on have changed. Let's make sure that it's off. Press smoke on, I get smoke low. Press it again, I get medium. Press it again, I get high. And again, going down, medium, low, and off. Again, the locomotive has been tested and found to perform the best under the Legacy Pullmore Diesel setting. However, if you have to have access to all 3 levels of smoke, changing the control type to Diesel will allow you to attain that access. Then, once Legacy version 1.4 software is released, you can change the setting back to Legacy Pullmore Diesel. Okay, let's get our locomotive lubricated and we can get it on the track. Before we put our U33C on the track, we want to make sure that we lubricate the locomotive. To do this, we have a needle applicator with some light oil. We want to apply a small drop of oil on each axle where it goes into the bearing on the truck block. Just a small dab is all that's necessary to lubricate the axle where it goes through the bearings. We want to do the same for the opposite side and also for the opposite truck. Now that we've told our Cab 2 remote that this locomotive is going to be Engine 73, we need to first program it. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we add smoke fluid to our locomotive. So to do this, we're going to use the pipette that came in the package. And our Lionel smoke fluid. We want to put in roughly about 3/4 of the way between the end of the pipette and the first line. And this hole is pretty small, so we want to use the funnel that came with the locomotive. Get that funnel down in the opening. Put in the smoke fluid, a couple puffs of air to make sure we clean the chamber out of any blockage. Go ahead and remove the rear cover. Place the locomotive in program. Apply track power. Using our Legacy remote, we're going to press Engine 7.3 and the Set button. The horn confirms that it took the command. We go ahead and place the switch back in the run position. Our smoke switch is on, as you can see. This hatch only goes on one way, so if you get it backwards, just spin it around. It's held on with magnets. I'd like to go ahead and show you the locomotive under Cab 1 control. First, I'm going to go ahead and turn the volume down just a bit. Under Cab 1 control, we're only going to send this locomotive 8 bits of data. So what we're going to get is, for horn, we're going to get whatever it gives us. It could give us any one of 3 different levels of the horn. And it's completely random when you're using a Cab 1 remote with the TMCC1 system. The bell. I'm going to go ahead and spool up the RPMs manually so you can hear the different levels. There's 8 levels of RPM revs in this locomotive per the prototype. You can see we've got our smoke unit on. To turn the smoke unit off, you simply press the aux 1 or straight arrow key and number 8 on your Cab 1 remote. Smoke turns off. 9 will turn the smoke back on. It typically takes about 20 to 30 seconds for this locomotive to begin generating smoke out of the smokestack. Once you turn it on, this is normal operation. The locomotive features front and rear electrocouplers. So as I press the front button, watch here on the front coupler, it'll pop open. Also the rear coupler on the R buttons on the cab. Engine has tower comm and crew talk. Play the crew talk for you.
Dispatcher, can I get a green light? Over. No, please stand by. Over. Gotcha, dispatcher. Waiting for clear. Out.
This is the tower comm, the number 7 key on the touchpad of the Cab 1.
You are clear, full. Over. Thanks, dispatcher. Cleared outbound. Out.
Sorry I don't have enough track or rollers to get this locomotive running fast for you, but get it underway and backwards. Locomotive also has shutdown sounds. That's accessed by pressing the aux 1 key or the straight arrow button and number 5.
Tire down, going to beans. Out.
When the sounds are shut off, you'll typically hear a slight bit of static coming out of the speaker. This is normal on this locomotive and it's no reason for concern. It's just the voltage being run off through the speaker. To go ahead and start the sounds back up, I'm going to press the 3 button on the Cab 1 remote. It's important to remember that with the Cab 1 remote, you have 3 levels of momentum with your locomotive. These levels of momentum are set with the L, M, and H buttons at the bottom of the remote. L will give you 32 speed steps with low momentum. M will give you 100 speed steps with low momentum. And H will give you 100 speed steps with medium momentum. What that momentum is simply how the locomotive responds to the throttle that you give it from the cab. Low momentum, you turn the throttle, the engine will respond immediately. High momentum, or medium momentum rather, you turn the throttle and the locomotive will take a little bit longer to get up to speed. You have 2 choices of speed steps in Cab 1 or TMCC1 mode, which is 32 speed steps with low momentum and 100 speed steps with either low or medium momentum. When you press the L, M, or H buttons on your Cab 1 remote, the locomotive will not signal in any way, shape, or form that it's received that command. The only way you'll know that you're sending that command to the locomotive is you'll see the red light on the command base flickering as you hold down the L, M, or H key. Okay, let's go ahead and get this locomotive running with the legacy remote. We've loaded the module into our cab. We've told it that it is engine 73, is in fact this Southern Pacific U33C. I'm going to go ahead and send it 9-bit commands because I'm in the legacy mode and show you or let you hear what the quilling horn sounds like. Some of the other features that we have available in legacy mode is we have 3 levels of smoke as opposed to the cab 1 remote. Using a cab 1 remote, you can set 3 different levels, but you can only turn them on and turn them off, 1 level at a time. So for instance, on the cab 1 remote, to get to the low smoke setting, you would press engine 7.3, aux 1, the straight arrow key, aux 2, the diverging route key, 9, and L for low, M for medium, or H for high, and then the aux 2 or diverging route key 1 additional time. L sets it for low, M sets it for medium, H sets it for high. Once you have that setting loaded on your locomotive, you can either turn the smoke unit on or turn it off. When you turn it on, it will be at one of those 3 settings, whichever one you choose, low, medium, or high. With a legacy remote, we have the option to choose low, medium, or high with the on key, providing we've changed the engine menu to diesel from legacy Pullmore diesel, which is what the memory module loaded for us. So I'm going to go ahead and show you now. I'm currently on smoke high. I'm going to press the off button. I now go to smoke medium. Press the off button again, I go to smoke low. Press the off button again, and I turn the smoke unit off. Going back the other way, smoke on. I have low smoke, medium. I have a little more smoke, and pressing it again will take me to smoke high. It will give me more smoke. The smoke unit fan motor runs at 1 speed. Once the locomotive gets running, that fan speed speeds up. Therefore, it will eject more smoke out of the stack when the locomotive is running, as opposed to when it sits still. By pressing the speed bar on our cab 2 remote, we get to the preset railroad speeds. This locomotive has 9 preset railroad speeds in it. Because of the short length of track, I'm going to go ahead and get it to roll speed, or press the number 1 icon under the speed bar menu. This will put the locomotive at its very first speed step. And again in forward. You'll notice this locomotive runs a little rough. These gearboxes need a great deal of break-in time. If you remember earlier in the video, we talked about lubricating the locomotive. It's also important that when you put this locomotive on the track, you let it run at a medium to high speed for roughly about 15 to 20 minutes to do a decent job on the break-in of the gearboxes. Once the gearboxes are broken in properly, the locomotive will run much smoother. Okay, that concludes this product video. These locomotives are available very soon at your dealers. Again, if you need the scale wheel sets that it talks about in the manual for operation on scale 2-rail track, we encourage you to contact Lionel Customer Service at the number at the bottom of the screen. These axles will be in stock roughly about the end of January. If you need a set, all we need is a copy of your store receipt emailed to us, and we would gladly send a complimentary set of scale wheel sets out to you. Thank you.